Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today is my final video for 2021. In this one, I'll be playing a couple more matches in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, featuring the Trick Room Hail team, which I debuted a couple of days ago. If you have not seen the first episode featuring this team, I've linked it down in the description below where I do a deeper breakdown of the team, and if you want to try out the team yourself, there's also a paste for it down in the description below. It's not exactly the strongest team in the BDSP metagame, but it's really fun, and it features, fun sets like Infernape and Staraptor, just Pokemon that I haven't got to try out in a very long time. Before we get started with today's episode, I just wanted to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for all of the support this year and really throughout all of the years. I would not, be able to do this if it weren't for you all, the viewers coming out and tuning into these videos. And this last year in particular, it's wild to think about that it was, one of my most active years, while it was also a year that I worked full-time simultaneously while making content. But I wouldn't do it if, one, I didn't have fun making the videos. I continue to really love sharing my knowledge and passion for VGC with all of you, and then two, you all continue to come out and watch these videos, which really means the world to me, especially considering we're, like 2 years into Sword and Shield at this point. To have as many people come out and continue to watch really makes me super, super happy. So from the bottom of my heart, I really do appreciate it, whether you've tuned into a video or whether you've tuned to a tournament that I've commentated, or really just anything. Thank you so much. So I'm wishing you, your loved ones, your friends, your family, all the best going into this next year. And yeah, just looking forward to what the next year brings as well. So I really appreciate the support. I'm looking forward to continuing to make more content in, the next year and all the subsequent years. And I hope you all have fun continuing to watch them as well. So question of the day, with the new year coming, I want to know what your goals for 2022 are down in the comment section below, and let's get started. Alright, for this game, we've got Raikou, Cresselia, Smeargle, Slaking, Scizor, and Gyarados. So with Slaking stuff, you should typically anticipate like Simple Beam or Skill Swap to get rid of its ability, kind of like what you typically see with Wheezy and Regigigas. So yeah, it is like somewhat predictable in how you might want to approach it, but that doesn't make it any easier to play against. Scizor and Gyarados here are both pretty scary, and Smeargle is always a threat just because of fast Fake Out. So I'm thinking Infernape and Staraptor as a lead. I think that generally matches up well. I think we really want Slaking here because we've got Flamethrower and the Tanga Berry to deal with the Scizor. And then for the final Pokemon, this one's interesting because they've got Scizor, right? So I don't know if I love Abomasnow or Glaceon, but it's not like Azumarill feels particularly strong either, and it feels really weird to bring Glaceon if I'm not bringing Abomasnow. So it's probably still Abomasnow here. That also enables the hill for Slowking to get some Blizzards off, but we'll see how this plays out. I think the main thing is that Slaking is going to have a pretty tough time here if my opponent tries to play towards that strategy, but they're going to go with Smeargle and Slaking. Okay. Which I don't mind. What's interesting here is I don't even necessarily need a final Gambit. Like, I can just, like, close combat instead. So, turn one, I think the main thing we want to do is cover for Scarf Smeargle, as well as Sash Smeargle. So, for example, Fake Out into Smeargle, and then just close combat into Slaking feels okay. What I don't want is Smeargle to get a Spore off in this position, right? So, Fake Out always denies it at least a potential turn one Spore. Okay, they're not going to protect either Pokemon. They're not going to switch out either Pokemon either. And Smeargle did move before the Staraptor there, so I'm wondering if it was just trying to go for a Fake Out of its own, or if it's actually Scarf Smeargle. I am not max speed here. Slack off. Ooh, okay. That's a cool play. And it is Flame Orb. Interesting. Okay. Smeargle, are you going to be Scarf Smeargle here? Does it outspeed Staraptor? Because I am Scarf Staraptor here, but I'm not max speed investment on it, so that's my primary fear right now. I think I'm down to just close combat Slaking here, and then close combat the Smeargle here. Turn 1 Slack Off is a really nice play by them. That's unexpected. Curious about its moveset. That is one of my main questions here. Okay, they actually withdraw Smeargle, which I think is a strong play. Maybe into Cresselia. They go to Raikou. Okay, I don't mind that too much. Ah, it's a double switch. So I get a lot of free CC damage off here. And it's Scizor. Okay. That was not really what I expected, but I'll take that. Unfortunately, we fall short of knocking out the Raikou there. It's really close. So the thing is, a feint into a close combat. Oh my gosh, close combat's just doing so much across the board right now. It's really impressive. Feint into close combat should be enough to knock out the Staraptor. Or the Raikou, I should say. Alternatively, I can close combat with Staraptor to just try to KO Scizor. I don't know if I do enough damage, though, is the problem. I mean, Scizor is a fairly big threat here. I could see them just bullet punching. But I kind of like feint into Raikou and close combat here. Unless there's Citrus Raikou, this should work out decently well for us. Okay, so we get feint off successfully. They do go for bullet punch. Does that KO us? Oh boy, that actually gets the knockout. I did not think that would KO us. And they Scald. Okay. Fortunately, they can't burn us here, but I did not think that would actually get the knockout onto us. So I wonder if they're choiced. Either way, though, I can bring out Slaking and set up a Trick Room with it now, I think. They're probably going to bullet punch the Infernape. Can't really do much to stop that, but that's fine. I'll overheat in case for some reason they don't bullet punch us. And then Trick Room here. The problem is if you indeed are Choice Banded. And Raikou actually switches out. Okay. That's going to be Slaking coming out. And there's bullet punch to KO Infernape. So now I get Trick Room up and I get a safe switch into the Abomasnow. Yeah, I feel like the turn that I went for Feint Close Combat, like I could have just double Close Combated with both of my Pokemon to ensure a knockout there. Instead, I was just thinking I would always survive against the Scizor's Bullet Punch. But we were obviously at -2 defense, so I should have erred on the side of caution there. Makes me think they're Choice Banded, honestly, so I'm not 100% sure if it was a damage roll or if they always just get that KO or like whether or not you get it if you don't have Choice Band, for example. So here I'm going to Protect, and I don't mind just going for Flamethrower into Scizor at this point. They don't have a safe switch into that. Then you can bring out Smeargle, and the scary thing is now maybe, you know, we have Slack off on the Slaking. The thing is, can Smeargle ever, like, get a Simple Beam or a Skill Swap off, for example? I'm not sure about that. Raikou's not exactly particularly strong right now for my opponent, and Slaking's the one to switch out, which I really don't mind. Okay. So they're going to go back into Raikou here. Okay, it's fine by me. I'm protecting here because Bullet Punch did so much to Staraptor earlier that it makes me think they're Choice Banded. So, perfect. Now we've eliminated what I would say is the biggest threat to Abomasnow as we get this Flamethrower, and that's enough to knock out Scizor. Okay. Now Raikou's in a pretty awkward spot. The fact they switched out Raikou also makes me think maybe they're choiced on that as well. Like, Choice Specs Raikou, Choice Band Scizor. That would be interesting. The question is whether or not a Scald from Slowking or a Blizzard/Energy Ball from Abomasnow can finish it off. But I think them bringing Slaking is generally good for us because I can just double Blizzard here with relatively low downside. My main question is whether or not Slaking can, like, one-shot us right now. Might be able to. He might just be able to, honestly. Okay, so here's Blizzard. Does not get the KO onto the Raikou, but that's fine. We have another Blizzard now. That's really good damage on a Slaking, but my fear here is that they one-shot the Abomasnow. Let's see. They went for Bulk Up. Okay, that feels like a slight misplay to me, because you just took way too much damage. Wow. Bulk Up, Flame Orb, Slaking with Slack Off. Okay. Because the problem now is that you're in KO range from any attack from my end. I think the one thing we want to watch out for is a potential Wide Guard from Smeargle. So I'd rather just go for Scald and Energy Ball in this position. But yeah, I'm really surprised they didn't just go for an attack there, and I think that may have cost them the game. The question, basically, if they went for an attack there, is whether or not they would get a one-hit KO. If not, then I think we're actually still in pretty good shape, and I'm not 100% sure. So okay, I'm down to just Energy Ball here. I do have to be a little bit careful. What are the things to watch out for here? Slaking going for a Slack Off. If you Protect, I think the Slaking actually just feints from Hail and Burn, right? I don't mind doubling up into it. That way, if you fake out one Pokemon, the other will just get the knockout. But Smeargle doesn't actually go for fake out onto either. Cool. So Slaking actually never really got to do very much here, although we did get to see its moveset in Slack Off and the Bulk Up, which I think is pretty interesting. But Energy Ball here should finish the Smeargle. Nice. The double close combat pressure early game was really good for us, but what was kind of a problem was that I didn't really take advantage of, like, the really strong early game. And, like, the fact that I just lost the Staraptor to a Bullet Punch. Like, I didn't think the Staraptor would ever faint there, so I think I was probably better off switching in that position, but I did not switch, and then just lost way too much because I wasted an attack with Infernape as well, right? So that turn was really bad, where it was probably the worst case scenario, and I should always just assume that Staraptor can feint there, because I didn't even think about the possibility of feinting to Bullet Punch. So what that means I could have done better is just attack with Infernape there and just go for a Overheat as well. I'm kind of surprised they switched out the Raikou as well, and I think that made the game actually a lot easier for us to play, so I do wonder whether or not it was choice specs, because otherwise I felt like it made sense to just stay in and go for an attack. And I would think that we were in a position to survive at that point, but I'm not 100% sure, honestly. So yeah. The good thing, though, is that Slaking never got, like, truly activated against us, but I do feel like this was a game in which, like, could have very easily gone either way, and fortunately for us, like, obviously we ended up winning, but it was one in which I feel like one small move, different from my opponent, it plays out completely differently. So, the way to have mitigated that is that we had this really strong lead, we had this strong start. I needed to play a little bit better with Staraptor and probably just switch it out in that position and then just go for Overheat with Infernape. My one fear with that is if they ended up doubling up into me on the Infernape with a Bullet Punch and a Thunderbolt / Scald, but that's kind of a tough play to make, especially when you're staring down a Scarf Staraptor. So, yeah. That's the main reason, by the way, I didn't make that switch, because I was afraid I would just lose the Pokemon for free. But then I would get to reset Staraptor, get an Intimidate onto Scizor, bring in the Slaking safely, and then actually probably just Final Gambit, Raikou, Trick Room with Slaking, and go from there. So, yeah. Either way, though, let's just look for another game here. So I didn't really comment too much on Slaking being Flame Orb in that last game, but turns out that's actually not very common on Slaking whatsoever. So I assume that it's Facade, and like I said, I was surprised that they didn't go for Facade immediately or just go for any attack. If you are Facade with max attack, you actually almost always knock out the Abomasnow there. Now what's interesting is because they're so bulky on the Slaking, I actually would guess that they don't have as much attack investment, because that seemed like a bulky Slaking that's designed to, go for bulk up and slack off. And so, for example, if you don't have any attack investment, then Facade actually never KOs. And so that game was actually very dependent based off Slaking's EV spread there, but I think it was probably in their best interest to just go for this, because even if you have no bulk, if you get a critical hit, or if, for example, my Abomasnow doesn't have much bulk, then you can just get a knockout. So taking a look at Slaking on Pikalytics, I think is pretty interesting, because that set we ran into with Flame Orb is actually not very common at all. If you look at the most common items here, it's Life Orb, Choice Band, Lumberry, and Expert Belt. And as you imagine, the most common partner is Weezing, but you've got things like Latios for Simple Beam, as well as Cresselia for Skill Swap, for example. And then in terms of its moveset, like Body Slam, Protect, Sucker Punch, Play Rough, EQ, Rock Slide, Giga Impact, Hammer Arm. So Facade is like, what, the 8th most common attack, and then Slack Off is like all the way down here. So Slaking already isn't exactly a very common Pokemon, but we ran into an even more unconventional set, which I think is super interesting. So this definitely is a Pokemon I have on my list to try out at some point in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. So I want to see if I can make it work, maybe with Weezing. So definitely something I'll add to the list of things to try out at some point. But just wanted to talk about it quickly, because I didn't even really comment on the Flame Orb, and I didn't realize just how unorthodox that was for, this format. Okay, getting into this next game here. So, really cool team. Latios, Scizor, Pelliper, Raikou, Ludicolo, and Arcanine. So how do I want to approach this here? This is a really scary team. I feel like we do not have a good matchup at all. Pelliper plus Ludi is scary, although what's interesting is I could always pivot out into Infernape, or sorry, into Abomasnow to change the weather immediately. Slaking can be really good offensively here. On paper, like, I'd want to bring in Zumaro, but it's so weak in a Ludicolo, like, I just don't think I can justify bringing it, which really stinks. I like Staraptor Slaking, because I can potentially, if you lead, like, Ludi plus Pelliper, for example, just pivot the Slaking out into Abomasnow potentially immediately. So I actually could be a Glaceon for our final pick. I kind of like Infernape because of Focus Sash, but it does feel a little bit weird to, like, bring it in the back. Because there's, like, a very likely chance that we'll end up setting up Trick Room, and then Infernape will just have to operate under Trick Room. So, yeah. I really like Glaceon. It's one of my favorite Pokemon, but it's just kind of hard for it to, like, thrive in this format just because of its very limited move pool, unfortunately. And its reliance on Hail, meaning that you also have to run a Abomasnow, and it's hard to, like, feel comfortable bringing both of those often. So they're going to go with Arcanine and Raikou. Okay. I don't mind a Final Gambit here. But what's interesting is maybe we Final Gambit Arcanine instead. Because I could see Raikou protecting or switching out right now. Final Gambiting Raikou is just so much safer, though, in my opinion, so I'll just go for it, and I'll just Trick Room here. Yeah. What are their switch-ins here? Like, what's the worst case? Raikou protects, and then the Arcanine goes for like a Snarl. Okay, no Protect comes out, so that's good. Yeah, Final Gambit. Perfect. That's like the best trade we could ask for, honestly, right? Because like that's the biggest threat to Slaking just eliminated right away. Now, they also have a Ludicolo and a Scizor, so actually there are multiple big threats that they have. Yeah, it is just a Snarl. But I've got Flamethrower here, so even if you bring in Scizor right now, I can just Flamethrower. This is kind of weird, though, because I don't want to bring out Abomasnow. So I actually might bring out Infernape because it pressures with Fake Out. And I don't mind having Fake Out pressure this next turn. Yeah, I think the way in which our Pokemon match up here is just kind of awkward for us. Ludicolo comes out. That makes sense. Now, I would think my opponent's final Pokemon is going to be that Pelliper. So, a Fake Out into an Infernape here makes sense, right? Or you could just Scald Infernape. I don't mind going for Fake Out into Ludicolo and then just Scalding here. I don't really love the idea of switching out into Abomasnow quite yet. And they're actually going to give us the Fake Out, which is really nice. Okay. So we'll deny Ludicolo an attack this turn. Scald is going to be a 2-hit KO onto Arcanine, but not after another Snarl, most likely. Yeah, there's another Snarl. Oh, this next turn is interesting. Do you read into Infernape switching out into Abomasnow? Because that's the play that I want to make right now. Dealing with this Ludicolo damage-wise is going to actually be fairly tricky, and this is where actually maybe Glaceon could have been helpful for us. It's mainly Snarl decreasing our damage output so much. I guess the other question here is, like, yeah, do you actually target the Infernape with your Ludicolo? Because you could theoretically target the Slowking with the Grass-type attack. So instead what I could do is actually stay in here. This is going to be a potentially risky play. If you're my opponent, though, you do think Infernape's just the bigger offensive threat right now, right? Okay, I think I will switch out into Abomasnow. I don't know, actually. If I'm in my opponent's shoes, what would I do? I would target the Infernape, because you don't want to feint to a close combat. And I should just Scald into Arcanine here. The problem is I think Arcanine... Oh, this is actually very interesting. Oh, wow, they didn't even bring Pelliper. I actually think that's a really smart decision on their end. But now I feel better about making the switch. Do I? It actually still is dependent on what they went for with the Ludicolo. If they target the Infernape slot, fantastic. You would think so, because it's kind of risky to switch in Scizor otherwise. Get Scald off. Burn would be very nice here. No burn. They did Giga Drain. Wow, okay. I was thinking that play was a little bit risky for them to make, because I could just, yeah, like, go for a close combat onto Ludicolo, but in their eyes, they're probably thinking I'm not going to close combat because I just feint to a Water-type attack anyway, and their Life Orb, which is also a big problem for us. Okay. I feel like that probably should allow them to win this match, mainly because Scizor just pressures me with Bullet Punch right now, which is really scary. This turn is interesting. Do I think Ludicolo is Protect? Because if not obvious, I can just go for like an Energy Ball and a Fake Out onto it. Because we can still definitely win this game with Infernape. But Abomasnow, unfortunately, is really weak for us right now, and I think their Pokemon selection was super good. I could also go for Blizzard and fish for a Freeze. That's another possibility. Because I don't even know if Energy Ball with Life Orb KOs anyway. So Life Orb Blizzard is a consideration. I think I have to Fake Out Ludicolo here, though. Yeah, I think I will go for Energy Ball and Fake Out. Just try to snipe down Ludicolo. Scizor protects. Does Ludia protect as well? If so, I could have gone for Feint. They don't! Wow, okay, that's huge. They just give me an absolute free attack off here. Ah, but we don't KO. Okay, that was really close. But the thing is, now I can Feint to finish off the Ludicolo. Or... Actually, I don't need a Feint, right? Wait, because they made that play, I can just Blizzard into Overheat, right? You Bullet Punch me, but I would expect to survive Bullet Punch. Let's see. Oh, with 4 HP. So I get a double KO here. Their final Pokemon's going to be Arcanine. Should I have close combated here instead of overheating? No, I think I should overheat. The problem is I can miss overheat. Okay. Nice, we don't miss. So now it's a 1v1 against the Arcanine. And they are at like 40%, but I don't think close combat KOs is part of the problem. And I think they end up having a berry and heal back up. This is so intense. Is it ever feint first just for... Nah, I think I just close combat here. Because we could also win off a close combat crit. I was just thinking feint to put them in like non-berry range and then finish it off with a close combat. But the other question is like, are you Flare Blitz and do you KO us with a Flare Blitz even if we're at -1 defense? I'm not sure. Here's close combat. Oh, it does hang on. Okay. But that was expected, right? But I don't think feint would have done... Oh, Overheat may have though. And they are Bulky Berry, yeah. As soon as it's not Citrus Berry, you should expect a berry like that. They basically start at the same amount of HP they had. It is Flare Blitz though, so you take a lot of recoil here if we can survive. Infernape hangs on with 36 HP. Okay, how much recoil do you take? It's really close as to whether or not close combat finishes it off, but I think with the hail damage, we actually get it. So unless you have a priority attack here, just make sure we go for close combat here. We should be good. Let's see. No priority. Here's close combat. It finishes off Arcanine. Wow. I think the main thing in this game is that my opponent did not need to protect with Scizor. I think Scizor had an opportunity to just go for an attack, and if they had actually just gone for Bullet Punch there, I think I would have been done for. Because the thing there is, your Scald will always KO my Infernape, right? And so Scizor wants to protect because you're worried about getting KO'd by Infernape, but if Scald's covering for Infernape attacking, I actually think you don't need to necessarily protect in that position, because you have something that outspeeds me under Trick Room. So that protect us allowed us to get back into the game, but it did not look very good, honestly, and I think my opponent's Pokemon selection was really smart. Even though we were able to get a knockout onto Raikou, like the Scizor, Arcanine, Ludicolo is really effective against us. And them not bringing Pelliper was a really smart decision as well, because I think it actually would have hurt them more than it would have helped them. One big play I could have made in this game was also just close combating the Ludicolo. That's the play I was almost going to make, right? But it just felt really risky. And yeah, like, I didn't want to, you know, end up switching out Slaking just to get Scalded KO'd on the Infernape. Then it feels like we're in a really tough spot. So that was not a game I was expecting to win, but that's why you never give up, and how a single protect and, you know, a single Pokemon not attacking for one turn can give you a lot of swinging momentum. So that was a really fun one, but let's look for another. All right, our final game here, and we're up against another rain team, this one with Togekiss and Mamoswine and Latios. And our opponent, Paris VGC, I actually ran into in the ladder when I was just playing for fun with this team earlier today, and he is, we've featured a bunch of their teams on Road to Ranked. Some of my favorite teams in Sword and Shield, phenomenal team builder, and we've battled against them a couple of times as well. So yeah, I played against them earlier today. They were using a different team, and this pseudo rain team looks really fun, but also really scary, because I think that last match indicated how tough, like, dealing with Ludicolo can be, for example. So I think this is a really well-constructed rain team. I really think that there's a lot of power here, because, like, Latios, like, Mamoswine's really nice. It covers for a lot of things, you know, are strong in the format, like Garchomp, for example. Staraptor can struggle here because of a lot of different reasons. I think, like, generally I think Slaking is probably one of the most important Pokemon for me, so I want to protect that as much as possible. So I'm thinking Staraptor, Slaking lead, Abomasnow in the back, kind of like how we approached that last one. Glaceon, Infernape, or Azumarill. I think it should be Infernape here because of Focus Sash, allowing us to maybe get, like, a close combat off. But yeah, I think this team from their end is really powerful. And Rain is interesting because it obviously makes it harder for me to just spam my Ice-type attacks. It's going to be Togekiss and Scizor. I think this is actually just the final Gambit into Flamethrower turn 1, honestly. Yeah. Especially because we... Oh, you know what they can do? Oh, this is so sick. They can Bullet Punch my Staraptor to decrease my final Gambit damage output. Yeah. But then what do you do with Togekiss, right? Because I can still Flamethrower. I don't want a final Gambit, though, because of the threat of Bullet Punch here. Don't really want to switch in either of these though. So maybe I just Brave Bird Scizor and Flamethrower it. This covers for a Follow Me option and an Aqua Berry Scizor. They did just go for Follow Me though. Man, if I actually just went for Final Gambit, would that have actually knocked out Togekiss? I thought they had the same amount of HP if it's maxed. I wonder if it's Aqua Berry on Scizor then. Oh, and they actually U-turn. Okay, that's really smart. So that way, even if I Final Gambited, they would have just switched out anyway. That's a great play. Yeah, it's like I would trade Staraptor for Togekiss, but then you U-turn out before I get an attack off, so it covers you from Flamethrower. Ludi is a great switch in. That's really nicely done. Okay. Scizor is going to be a problem in the late game, especially because I no longer have my Tanga Berry, and I did not get Trick Room up here, which is actually a really big issue. Actually get a burn on Togekiss, which is kind of lucky. Puts it on a timer. I want to Brave Bird Ludi here and then switch Slaking out into Abomasnow, predicting them to switch Togekiss out into Pelliper. They're not going to switch. Could have stayed in with Slowking and just clicked Trick Room then, I think, right? Oh, that turn 1 play was really smart, and like even if I had gone for Final Gambit, I don't think I'd be that well off anyway. Wow, great play. They fake out into Staraptor. Okay, it's Life Orb on Ludi. And then Dazzling Gleam. So I actually had the opportunity to set up Trick Room there. I just didn't think my opponent would actually give it to me thanks to this Ludicolo that's out on the field. And unfortunately, that's one of the downsides of using Slowking as my Trick Room user. Ludicolo is a fairly big threat, and we just happen to run into a bunch of them today. So next turn's interesting, right? Because you can switch Togekiss out into the Politoed. I have Infernape in the back, so that can still be good for us in this late game. Or you could just Follow Me here, but Follow Me would be kind of surprising, I think. If I were my opponent, I would maybe switch Togekiss out into Pelliper. Or sorry, into Ludi. So I could always switch... The thing is, if I switch Staraptor out into Slowking and they just stay in with Togekiss, that's really bad for us, right? So, I actually don't mind going for... Do I think Ludi's going to have Protect is the other question here. I could Brave Bird, Togekiss, and Energy Ball it, where if you stay in... The only downside here is if Togekiss stays in and protects, but they're going to switch Ludi out, okay? Into Scizor, maybe. That makes a lot of sense. Good switch. So, I'll get the knockout onto Togekiss, but at what cost, right? Now, Scizor is primed to just click Bullet Punch. Yeah, turn 1 I tried to make a play to cover for most of my options, but it didn't cover for U-turn Scizor, which was the problem. And that was a really nice play. So we get Energy Ball off, but now you can just bring Ludicolo back in, and you've got Fake Out and Bullet Punch pressure. And the other awkward thing is now Infernape... Like, Infernape's only so good here, right? Like, the way they put my Staraptor in a really tricky position was fantastically done, I think. Because now you can just Fake Out Staraptor, Bullet Punch the other. And my way to beat Scizor is Infernape. So I somehow need to get Infernape in safely. I think I don't mind switching Staraptor out into Infernape here and then just going for a Blizzard. If I lose Abomasnow, so be it. I get a free switch in into... Staraptor, which at least gives me an Intimidate and pressures with Brave Bird. But I think losing Tanga Berry early on and then not getting the turn correctly when I switched Slowking out, that was actually probably the most important turn in my opinion. So it gives me Fake Out. Ooh, and a U-turn. It's not even Bullet Punch. Yeah, that's even a stronger play. I could have protected Abomasnow there, I think. But even if I protect, then you can just switch the Scizor out into Pelliper and then change the weather. But now they have weather control as well. I keep saying Pelliper. Sorry, Politoed. And I think this now is in a really difficult game state. Because Ludicolo, in general, matches up really well against me. So what I needed to do in this game was fish for an opportunity to just KO Ludicolo before I lose Abomasnow. But my opponent never gave it to me because they made some really good switches. So what else could I have done? Could Glaceon have come out here much? Don't really think so. Well, actually, Glaceon could have. It's just so weak into Scizor, and I don't have Freeze Dry on it. So that might actually be a good adjustment, because today's episode has made me realize how Ludicolo weak this team is. So Freeze Dry over like Shadow Ball maybe can work. I can bring in Staraptor now though, right? Because I have Fake Out and Brave Bird. So you would probably switch Ludicolo out. The thing is, Ludi just one-shots everything at this point on my end. So even if I predict Ludi switching out correctly, like, what do I even get out of that, right? I somehow need to reset my fake out. Okay, I actually see a maybe possible play here. I'm going to switch out and then U-turn. I think I'm already so far behind in this game. I don't think my opponent ever lets me just fake out and Brave Bird the Ludicolo slot. Okay, actually, let's say I do that. What happens? Politoed gets an attack off, but then I just lose to, like, Scizor with Slaking in the back. So, since I'm already pretty far behind in this game, I think I need to just kind of go for, like, a really big play. So I'm going to predict them to protect Politoed, switch Ludicolo out into Scizor, and U-turn here. They're not switching, so it could be a protect, or maybe they're just willing to lose Ludicolo as well, because I actually don't think we can win this game if they just, like, don't make any major misplays. And they just went for Hydro Pump. Oh, that works, actually. Okay, hold on. Targeted Infernape. If U-turn gets the knockout here, there's actually a out. Oh, it was so close. Okay. Unfortunately, now I think Infernape feints to a water type attack. If I actually went Brave Bird there, maybe there was also an opportunity. And if Hydro missing there wouldn't make much of a difference, I think. It is Scald into the Slaking slot, though, and we survive with 5. Okay. No burn. I will take that. Why, though? What do I even get out of this? I can feint to knock out Ludicolo now, but the thing is, I just lose if Slaking feints, right? I need Infernape in order to beat Scizor. If we actually picked up the knockout there, I think we could have won this, which is wild. It still would have been tough, though, actually. I think Politoed is just in such a strong position. If I'm my opponent, I'm doubling into the Infernape slot here. I don't think I'm ever surviving Scald on Politoed. Having my Sash broken was not good. And I just lose to Bullet Punch with both Pokemon here. So what if I switched Infernape out into Staraptor? Okay, I think my only out here is for them to miss a water type attack. So I'll Flamethrower Ludi and then switch this out into Staraptor. So the hope is, like, we just saw them go for Hydro Pump, which is not the most consistent water type attacks. If you miss a Hydro Pump here and you doubled up to KO Staraptor, I KO Ludicolo, then I have this Infernape to deal with Scizor in the end game. I think I still lose in that scenario anyway, but I at least gotta try. They just opted for Giga Drain here. Does that make sense? Yeah, you can just Giga Drain and Scald as well. And I actually, can I ever cover for the combo of that? The one possibility would have been to fake out Politoed there. We fake out Politoed, then I bring in Staraptor and I feint. But the thing is that Politoed being at full HP means I still can't do very much. So, yeah. I think losing Weather Control so early on in this game definitely was led to our downfall here. But I really like their plays as well. And I think if I were to replay this, I was just nervous about going for Final Gambit on turn 1 because of Bullet Punch. So, like, one thing they could have gone for is, like, Bullet Punch, decrease my damage output, and then go for a Dazzling Gleam. But then the thing is, I can at least get a Flamethrower off into the Scizor slot, I think. So, yeah. The lead actually wasn't too bad for us, but it was the U-turn getting rid of our Tangaberry. U-turn, like, allowing for that pivoting was super, super key. And then also positioning Ludi in a really nice way. And me losing a Bombsnow as early as I did was rough, so, yeah. So then the question is always, could I have brought any different Pokemon? And the first question is, like, would I bring Glaceon? Nah. Into a Scizor team in general, like, especially when they have Rain, like, if it's just Scizor, Infernape, and Slaking can maybe scare away Scizor or can one-shot them, but when you add Rain to the mix, it makes it a lot tougher. So I don't really love the idea of that. That's the first thing. So Glaceon's a little bit tough to feel comfortable with. And then the other question is Azumarill, and I really don't love Azumarill into Ludicolo. But I think if I have Freeze Dry on Glaceon, for example, then maybe you can actually make an argument to bring it into this matchup. So, yeah. That was a really fun game, though, and Parrish is a really solid player. So, yeah, great game to them and super cool team. It would have been cool to see Mamoswine and Latios as well, but overall, I just think that, like, reminds me a lot of, like, the old-school Rain teams in 2012 and 2013, and that, you know, era just is, yeah, I am very, very fond of just because I played so much back then. So, yeah. that is going to be it for our final episode of the year. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much as always for watching. I really do appreciate it, and it has been a fantastic year. It really means a lot to me that you all continue to come out and watch these videos. And I mean, truthfully, like, yeah, when I first started making these videos, I didn't ever even think I'd get like more than like 10 views. So to, you know, see you all continue to come out and watch day after day, even though I kind of do the same thing, same style of video over and over again, it really means the world to me. And I'm glad that I can, you know, find my own niche on YouTube and do what I like and have so many people also come out and enjoy these videos. So seriously, thank you so much. Have a happy new year. Be safe, be well. And yeah, wishing you all the best, and I'll see you next year. All right. Peace.